I've always been fascinated with things Celtic. There's such a vast and rich culture and traditions of music, and especially I'm drawn to the storytelling, which I try to do through the music. Growing up, my father was very imaginative in telling stories, which was part of a tradition in the family of having some Irish background. And as I learned about the various cultures around the world, I was drawn to the Celtic in various ways. One is St. Patrick is very famous, and I read a book called How the Irish Saved Civilization, which was a very fascinating book that discussed the life and times of St. Patrick. And it became fascinating to me to see that there was a worldview that's quite different than what we entertain today. They measure time differently. We have minutes and seconds, and we're always looking to see, you know, what time it is. And they thought of time as the sun comes up and the sun goes down, and they looked at themselves against a backdrop of eternity. And so that is fascinating. I also loved hearing about how they saw themselves in terms of being vital and healthy. And I was fascinated to read about how they measured their health against their distance, how close or far away they were from God. So if they're worrying, they're filled with anger or frustration, bitterness, all the things that we have today, they would say that those are things that are getting you away from being close to God. So the idea of pilgrimage was to walk away from this life that you had and walk toward, with every step, a fullness, a wholeness. And I found that fascinating. And so there were many things that kind of drew me to the Celtic traditions. Learning about their music, the spontaneity, how the Irish have this flair for living in the moment, which is very attractive, I think, especially with kind of a Western mindset of defining the world through our senses, maybe going back to the Greeks, that things are true because we see it, or we touch it, or we taste it, or we feel it, and this other world, of the time of St. Patrick, especially, contemplated a world beyond our senses, and so as a musician, this is the world I live in, because yes, we can hear the music, but I have a gift that I can go somewhere. And especially if I take time and respect the place, respect the traditions, take time to ask questions, what is this place about? And I found many of the Irish people, they understood what the places were about. They're not just a piece of property, not just where there's grass and there's a lake and whatever, but it's a place where something happened. And there was this place where courage was expressed, or great faith, or some kind of vision for a world beyond ours. This one concept the Irish had about thin places, I didn't really understand, but I love the concept where the distance between heaven and earth is thinner. So that's a thin place. And the difference between the past, present, and the future is thin in certain places. So I went to these places and sat and tried to relax and started to improvise, and I felt myself drifting into this thin place and trying to understand the world beyond my senses. And so it just was my thoughts coming out of the instrument. And so that is something that I think lends strength to this music, is because it's not about cleverness, about me trying to play one more dance tune or how to play fast or whatever. It was trying to pick up the rhythm and the subtlety of the rise and fall of the melody, using a scale that somehow suggested the tension of the place. And so I might be at a church and I'd hear some bells, and then I would learn the story of that place, and then I would try to capture it in the music. I believe that instead of music for entertainment that we have today, I drifted into an idea that was more prevalent in the past, about music was something to muse about, not to be amused by, or simply to be amused by. And so that spiritual aspect of trying to learn from the past, and if something's true, I believe it's been true, it's true now, and it's always true. And it's just a matter of trying to distill the experience to find out what that is. So, I mean, when I went where the Hill of Slain, which is 4 miles away from the Hill of Tara, the ancient seat of kings, and I went and I stood where St. Patrick stood. Well, I read in a book about him lighting a fire and marching on the hearts and minds and souls of the Irish people. I read about that, but when I got there, it was like I entered into a relationship with Patrick and his mission. I could imagine him having this vision. He said he thought he heard the Holy Spirit, and it told him to light this fire, even though on May 1st, 433 AD, it was a penalty unto death to light a fire, because the king had to light the fire first, and then everyone else could. But Patrick, with courage, lit this fire and began marching right in line to the king. So while I was there, I'm going, well, Patrick, this is insane. These Irish people, they can get pretty violent, you know, and they're going to kill you. I mean, it's like I'm talking to him, and then I kind of get the sense that, well, where is their fear when the Creator of all things has just told you to do something? How can there be fear? And so I just started walking, and I'm walking down a hill. Well, he's not just going to walk casually. He's walking with intentionality. And it made me feel like this is courage, is having a vision, knowing who you are in time. And so I've somehow been given a gift to make music and then somehow understand the rhythms of things around me, to find a music that will do that, and that's my mission. And so I'm following Patrick, you know, and he says, Christ before me, Christ behind me, Christ to my left, Christ to my right, Christ above me, Christ below me, Christ in the minds of those who see me or think of me. And he felt completely encircled by the power of what really is. And so when he walked, the king had sent out 9 chariots, and they had their swords extended, and they coming right up against each other. And I walked and I go, I wonder where that happened. And then I remembered the story is that in the minds of the charioteers, they saw a herd of deer. So they went around the deer, and Patrick just kept walking. And then he knew it was very important what he was going to do, because he was going to bring a message to a people that ultimately, for over 350 years, there was relative peace. There was abundance of creativity in the arts. Literacy was introduced. People started doing good things for each other. They stopped killing each other. They stopped feuding. He brought something incredible to these people. And so I feel excited to be able to carry on, in some small way, his mission by telling his story. He's not dead. The story lives. And especially in these thin places where it's not just disposable, like everything is new and improved today. Some things are sacred. Some things are important, but you have to give yourself to have a relationship with these places. You have to go there, and I did. And so I bring those places to my audiences. And that's one example. I guess part of my own personal style of looking at the spiritual world is that you have to have faith. You can't control everything. You can't be the beginning, middle, and end of everything. I don't make the sunrise. I don't make the rainfall. I don't make a lot of things. I don't think a lot of us do that. But I think that there's a tendency that we want to have control, and we want to determine things. And so that's one thing I guess I'm working on in myself, is to try to have faith. Then what do you have faith in? And you have to choose some path. You have to choose something to have a relationship. I mean, even with people, someone could date a different person every night, but they'll only know that person a little bit. And if you commit yourself to one person for a long period of time, you get to know something much more vast. And so I find within the tradition that I've looked into many things, Buddhism. I've lived in an ashram. We did yoga, Kundalini yoga. I've looked at a number of different things with I Ching and Tai Chi, Chuan, and I found it fascinating. A lot of those disciplines, you empty your mind, so that the problems you're having, you just try to turn it off. It's like your computer crashes and you unplug it, and then you plug it back in, and oh, you can go again, you know. But I was looking for something. I've been looking for something where I could figure out, why is my computer crashing? I don't want to just keep turning it off all the time. I want to find out, so I could have this true experience. So in my reading of the scriptures, the Torah and it's commonly known as the Old Testament and the New Testament, I'm so impressed by the person of Christ and the deity of Christ, in that all the things that he says is so exciting to me that and he says, and so if you follow what he says, he includes in that I am the truth, the life, and the way, and no one comes to the Father but by me. And so this is very specific. And so do I not take that and decide myself to do everything to create my own world, my own religion? And so I'm trying to experience having faith that if he says that, and his teachings of love and of strength, of having a relationship with the Father, I think is very profound. If anything, it seems that the essence of religion is relationship. That if we believe in the story of Adam and Eve, there was no religion. Adam's just walking around talking to God. But with the wanting to know so much, biting the apple of knowing, having the knowledge of good and evil, to me that makes so much sense, that we're trying to figure it out. We're trying to know so much, instead of just having a relationship, asking God, what do you want me to do? Every time when I write a piece, I'm going, God, if you have a piece here for me, I'm here. and so some of the pieces are complex, but other pieces are very simple. And I know in this world I'm supposed to be wowing you, showing you how fast and furious and technical I am, but that doesn't seem to be what I hear where I'm at. Sometimes it's technical, and other places it just is. And so it's about the music, and it's about listening, and it's about asking for a relationship. And so there's been many stories I can't even begin to tell you, where I didn't even know where the song was going. I didn't know where the experience was going, but I listened and I followed it. I listen to music, and I've studied music going back about 500 years. I've played the lute works from the late 1400s, early 1500s. It's all, this early music especially, is an imitation of the voice and vocal models of singing in a choir. And so in studying that music, there are ways that they form the chords. And what I've been impressed with, and I do in all my music, is that I form the chords according to a low note, and then each low note in nature vibrates in a certain way that it divides itself arithmetically, divides itself in half, and thirds, and fourths, and fifths, and sixths, and sevenths, and so forth. The further you get out numerically, the less you can hear of it. So it divides itself in an octave, then you hear the fifth, then you hear another octave, then you hear the third, and then the fifth again. And so in the order of that, I play my chords from root to fifth to third, almost all throughout my music, because that imitates nature. And I can't help to think that the ancients understood that. because it is the way sound is. It's not my opinion. It is just the physics of how music unfolds. Now, on the guitar, when you play a note, it excites other instruments or other strings around it, but there's not enough strings for all the notes to be excited, to have these sympathetic tones. So by playing the harp guitar, that's one aspect, that I play a note, and all the notes every note I play has an aura of support by additional strings. So that's one phenomena in the music. So it sounds peaceful, or it sounds in some ways true, because of the organization of the notes. Now, if you start introducing various tension in the music, it's not that that isn't true, but it's probably describing a world where there is more tension. So you could have a lot of avant-garde music with lots of dissonances, and it probably is very true to describing a major city, our tensions of our time, things that are unresolved. Well, other people are chronicling that. I'm wanting to chronicle the world without those things. So I have a model of what to move toward, instead of all these things I want to tune out. And so that's one aspect of the music. And then I follow the music. It's a language. So that if a note on top of a chord is a minor third, it has a certain sadness to it, and I might hold it and relish it. So each note and each interval has meaning if you spend time and have a relationship with the language of music. There is different types of music, such as music that has drones. Only Western culture has harmony, and drones help you to withdraw from your senses in many ways, and you lose track of comparing the world around you, and a lot of times it brings on an altered state. I'm finding myself attracted to describing something. And just like in my spirituality, I want to meditate upon something, some truth, and follow that. And often it happens. If I'm not thinking about anything, it's likely nothing in particular may happen. And so in my music, I have harmonies that contrast and moods and keep your mind involved instead of withdrawing you. And I also love melody. It's an extension of language. And I tell stories through the music, so that the music sounds like the story. And this is something that the ancients used to do all the time. And many composers have done this programmatic aspect. We take, Beethoven's, Fourth Symphony, with this da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, it's like knocking at the door. It's like, if you listen to it, it has a story. It tells through a person's life, from being young to middle-aged to aged. And there's always this sort of mortality knocking. You think you're important, but there's that knocking. It was brilliant. It's absolutely a masterpiece of vision of something. And when you hear it, it takes you, it humbles you. And so I strive toward that in my own capacity, to reach for those things, and then if it's true, someone else listening can join in the experience. And I find that's very exciting, especially in this world where we're in a time that's becoming more individualistic. And ever since the Renaissance and even the Enlightenment, trying to give each person in the late 18th century some kind of credibility, a vote in government, a voice in how we live. And they never envisioned that everybody would have their own iPod and their own cell phone and their own, camera, and we've become hyper individualistic. And especially in America, we're very in a hurry. And so to take time to have a relationship with someone else, to communicate to someone else, I think is a very special thing that I think even 20 years ago, the average friendship, having close friends, it was about 3 people that on an average. And then about 5 years ago, a similar poll was taken, and it's less than 2. And where are we going? We need to be able to have relationships with each other. We need to make music that invites people in. If you have very loud music, it's like shouting. When you're shouting, you're not interested in somebody talking to you. I just want to tell you what I'm thinking. And we have a lot of that. And so I'm trying to provide something that invites you in. And I have 20-page booklets in my CDs to desperately try to tell you what it was that I was wanting to tell you in the story. And so that's part of, I guess, my approach is to take time. When I'm with an audience, I greet the audience before the show. I talk to people. I want them to feel comfortable. I want to feel comfortable. It's not about me, it's about us sharing a moment in time. It's not just a job and I've finished, I can mark that off and I got to go to the next concert. It's more personal with me. And I think it's personal with an audience too. If the artist will take the time, and the audience will take the time to know who this person is. Forgive the mistakes. Relish in the glory of the moment if it's beautiful. And to share something beautiful. We live in a world that's incredibly beautiful. And we just have to take time to look. Take a walk amongst trees, amongst birds. Our thoughts, I think, are shaped by our capacity to breathe. And so I have to come to an end of a sentence and make sense before I allow myself to take a breath. And now I could keep talking. When you go amongst a tree or the grass or something, they're breathing in much broader breaths. It just feels so expansive. And when you're under anxiety, your breath is shorter even. So these are all things that don't even necessarily have to do with music, but they have everything to do with music. And so this is part of what I try to do and share with audiences. We do think of, through the medical practice is just imitating the world that we have today, where everything has to be proven by our senses. And so you take a pill to do the opposite of what your body is expressing. You have a fever, you take something to take it down, or so forth. I'm doing something that enters into the grief, that enters into a moment that you're having. Not to deny your feeling, but to be there. Perhaps if you have that same feeling, I have a number of things that I go through, but the music does have, I've been told, and I feel for myself, it has a healing aspect to it. Not that I've tried to craft it to be that way, but again, it's a surrender. It's trying to do something that is from the heart and from the soul. And I think that is renewing. The thing like with going on pilgrimage, to somehow with each step making an action, not just saying, oh God, make me well. Well, do something. Get up and walk toward, reach your hand toward something that makes you well. You know, oh, I want to do something. God, make it happen. Well, get out of your chair and go reach for it. You know, and that's, I want to know about St. Patrick. I went to where he walked, and I share that with you. And so I try to experience those things so you can have those experiences too. And we're only here for such a time. And so by traveling and hearing about others' lives, especially others' triumphs amongst their struggles, that seems to be something for me. I'm constantly struggling with my past and generations past. You know, why do I have trouble with this or that? You know, I don't know why that is. And then I realize my grandparent or great-grandparent, you know, it's a very dynamic thing. And it's a surrender, it's asking forgiveness. I can't control other people, but I can at least surrender. And that's something that I find in prayer, that not every once in a while, but regularly, you know. And who do you pray to? There's so many spirits out there. I mean, even Christ, you know, there were people who were possessed by a spirit, and that he would cast it out, and the person all of a sudden was relieved and not tormented anymore. I want to pray to a true spirit. I've taught that he sent a comforter, and after he left, miraculously left, he called it the Holy Spirit. And so I want to reach out to the Father through the Son, as he said to do, and to make it something consistent with every moment. And it's hard to do, and I fail regularly, unfortunately. But then I try to get up again. And isn't that the human struggle? Isn't it, we're supposed to keep going? And in spite of the circumstances, to have faith, to not quit, go to the end. Try to find out what is your purpose. I know as a teacher, I started out teaching guitar this is how you play it. This is, I have the book, do this exercise. And then over time I started trying to understand, who is this student? Who is this person that I'm working with? And when I start to find out who they are, then exciting things happen. It's the sort of thing that I'm finding that I have to be myself because everybody else is taken. What else can I do? And so to celebrate who you were made to be, I found the harp guitar, I found composing, I found storytelling and travel and loving my audiences and sharing a moment. I found these things to be valuable to me, and I'm thrilled when it's valuable to other people. I have some ideas, but again, I want to kind of see where it goes, what doors opened to go there. I've been so fascinated with traveling. I fall in love with the people everywhere I go. I'm in Austria, and the people are wonderful. Everyone's different. Everyone has a different outlook or different customs. And I was just in Spain and in France, and different flavor, different rhythm to life. And so I don't want to limit where I show up and to celebrate that moment. There are places I would love to go. I have not been to Eastern Europe. I have not been to the Middle East. Haven't been to Africa. If it's right, I want to go to all those places. I think part of what I do is I reveal something that's unseen, and so I have a project that is coming up where I'm looking at people who became famous in the 1960s. I'm calling it the icons of the 60s. And so I'm kind of going back in time to understand who these people were as people rather than as gods, social gods that we made ourselves. And I'm finding it absolutely fascinating to tell their story. So I don't know if it's just a place to go, but it's having a vision of a purpose. How can I be useful somewhere with some topic? and sometimes people approach me and I go, yes, I didn't see that. Yes, I should do that. So that's part of my future. I'm working on a classical album now where I've gone back in time and discovered music no one has ever played by Fernando Sor, the father of the classical guitar. And it's on a 3-neck guitar. And it's absolutely heartbreaking, beautiful. Lyric, sings, and no one's played it. So this is what I find exciting, is to do something no one else has done. Because if it's been done, do something else. So I've written now music. I entered into his world and written some very sublime music about life struggles. It's very intimate. It's some of the most beautiful things I've ever written. It's called Homage to Fernando Sor. And so that's my immediate future. So we'll have to see. I don't know. And isn't that wonderful, not knowing? Then there's room in life to be filled with awe and wonder.